Hello everyone, in the last few days, fragrance fans around the YouTube world have tuned in, as usual hoping to see some interesting and unique content on the subject of fragrances. Perhaps a review of a hidden gem that we've never heard of, a classic scent from the 70s or 80s, or maybe an obscure new release that one of the reviewers would like to draw to our attention. Instead, they found that nearly everyone had uploaded a first impressions of Creed Viking.
Sample here of Creed Viking. Creed Viking.
Oh my God! You got me shit me! What the Damn!
Creed Viking.
You didn't even like me. Oh my God!
Creed Viking.
Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be taking a look at my top 10 niche fragrances every beginner must sample. So a couple of videos back I did a top 10 designer fragrances that every beginner must sample. My list was based on the list of Claire Vukcovic in Fragrantica, where she wrote this list a couple of years back. So I decided to just run you through her list and say what I thought of the picks and give you a couple of my own options. Here today I'll give you a quick picture of the ones in her list and a link to that one. I haven't sampled a lot of those. I don't have big knowledge of all of them at all, so I didn't want to just run through that list. I'm going to give you my own picks this time of what I think would be 10 good fragrances covering some of the different styles that are out there in the world of non-designer, i.e. niche fragrances, and run you through why I like them. So they're going to be somewhat accessible to people who are just used to designer fragrances. There's nothing too incredibly out there, but we're challenging our noses a bit here because we're getting into niche. So we've got some interesting smells and they're not super dumb reaches or anything like that. I'm not going for the easiest ones. So somewhat challenging, but likeable and approachable for most people who are not so into niche. So let's get into my list. No particular order. Number one then, one that we don't hear any talk about really in fragrance videos, and this is Ambra del Napoli, and this is from the house of, I'm going to try and say it right, and this is the house of Firenze something or other, which I always have trouble pronouncing. So the name is going to be on the screen, Fumoro de Firenze or something, and it's not on the actual bottle. But this one was brought out way back in 1990. It's a wonderful amber, incense and vanilla scent. Wonderfully kind of warming notes of vanilla and some incense in there. It's quite an exotic smell. And the sweetness is there, but it's a sort of smoky, incensey sweetness. It's really beautiful. And I think it's an absolute classic niche fragrance, which is very likeable, quite unisex. But anyone interested in a great amber scent, I wanted something that was an amber scent, that kind of warm, slightly resinous smell, and that mixed with some lovely sweetness in this one. I think Ambra del Napoli is a great place to start if you're interested in a somewhat sweet, lovely, huggable, cozy niche fragrance. So that's number one. Next up, I'm going to include some that I don't have bottles of. I've got a few dozen different niche fragrances, but there's a whole ton of Creeds. There's quite a few Acqua di Parmas. I've got quite a few aromatic fougères. I'm going to put one in the list, but I've got quite a few grouped in the categories I like. So the purpose of this list is to say what you should try and sample to see what you like. So I haven't got all of them because I've sampled some of them. I respect what they do, but some things, some styles of niche fragrance aren't for me, I don't think, so far. Here's an example then. It's Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather. I've just got a little decant of this one here. So Tuscan Leather by Tom Ford is a very rich, pungent, masculine, leathery scent. But what it has that's different to old-fashioned 70s and 80s leather scents is it has a certain sweetness. There's a sort of fruity, almost raspberry-esque note in there. It's got saffron, which gives it a kind of different, slightly modern feel. And the actual leather note in it, I think it's called suederol, the thing that they use for this, is very distinctive. Other companies have got their own versions, like YSL's Noble Leather. There's Colonia Leather, which I really like from Acqua di Parma. But this was, I think, one of the first to smell quite like this. Some people say it smells like cocaine. I don't know about that, but it's got a very seductive, sexy, masculine smell to it. And it's, you know, definitely for colder weather rather than warmer seasons. It's not really a fresh scent. Very pungent. I really like smelling it from here, and I think it's a must try. Of course, the Tom Ford private blends are all really interesting, but this perhaps is the standout for me that you should sample and see if you like this kind of modern niche leather smell. I like it, but not enough to want to wear it myself or feel that I would feel comfortable very often in it. So I haven't got a bottle, but you should try it. Next up It's Montel Intense Cafe. So this is one of the most pleasant to me and fairly accessible gourmand niche fragrances. What you get with this one is the name Intense Cafe. There is a coffee note, but mainly I get a mixture of vanilla and rose. Very, very rich, quite sweet. Again, quite unisex. Very, again, like the Ambra del Napoli, it's rich and sweet and comforting. And I think it's one of my favourite gourmands that I've sampled so far. So Montel Intense Cafe for me would be my go-to for a gourmand niche scent that people should try if you want to see if you like that. That rose and vanilla in this one is really sexy and nice. Other things that people like, a lot of people like Bond No. 9's New Harlem. That's another option. But I've gone with Montel Intense Cafe. Next up, then, we had to have an amouage in here, didn't we? I don't own any amouage fragrances. The one that I would say you must sample, and there's quite a few options, is Jubilation 25. I just have a little decant of this one. Jubilation 25 has lovely incense in it. It has oud, as a lot of amouage and Middle Eastern influenced scents have, but it's not really an oud dominant scent, but there is quite a bit of oud and woodiness, and a really nice sweetness. There's a blackcurrant or blackberry, I think it is, note, and I really get that. Some people even say it smells like blueberry. It's a really rich, opulent scent. It smells quite modern. It's not an old-fashioned, old-school scent. It does have this exoticism about it. I could have picked Reflection Man from amouage. That would have been a safer bet, but it doesn't really smell like an Eastern fragrance, and you want that from amouage, really, don't you? I could have picked Interlude Man, the Blue Beast. It's a bit much, so it might put you off. This is sort of in the middle in how accessible it is. It's beautiful. It's a really regal, jubilant, maybe scent. An Arab sheik could wear something like this, and you might feel like an Arab sheik if you're wearing it. But it works fine in the Western world to wear it. It's for dressed up occasions. It's got exoticism, but it's likeable. It's got sweetness. There's honey and cinnamon mixed in with an absolute ton of ingredients, but there's some nice woodiness, a very nice resonance element again with this one, and it's really, really good. So a great introduction to the world of Eastern influenced fragrances would be Amouage Jubilation 25. To see if you like that kind of thing. Next up, then, we've got one of my all-time favourites. It's Acqua di Parma Colonia Essenza. Nothing too challenging here, but it's one of my favourite citrus aromatic fragrances. So there's neroli, I think there's grapefruit and or tangerine. In the base we have some musk, some rose, some oak moss and patchouli, so it's got real depth to it. Great masculine scent. I think it leans a little bit more masculine than feminine, and it's got really good performance. It's an eau de cologne, but I think it's more like an eau de parfum, or at least a strong eau de toilette in performance. Lovely citrus scent. Acqua di Parma do some brilliant stuff. This is my favourite of theirs. Great all-rounder, and you'll just smell a quality and a naturalness about the scent that you won't get in designer scents. So Acqua di Parma Colonia Essenza, definitely a must try when you're looking into niche, and it doesn't cost masses more than designer fragrances actually, which is good. Alright, moving on. Next up, it's going to be Serge Naxos. I love Serge Naxos. I guess this would be the tobacco scent from the niche world. So this one is often described as being like a niche version of Thierry Mugler's Pure Havane. There are similarities, so it doesn't quite do it justice, but yeah. It's got a little bit of citrus freshness actually in the beginning. There's some cinnamon and honey and a lovely tobacco note, but it's a sort of fresh tobacco leaf rather than a pungent, smoky tobacco note. It's really, really beautiful. A lovely sweetness in this one. Very kind of modern smelling scent. You know, it's I don't know what category it is, oriental, woody, or all these different categories can be difficult to understand, but it's definitely a very sweet, but yet classy and sophisticated scent with a lot of depth. And Xerjoff have some really great quality scents. I think that the ingredients they use seem to be absolutely top notch. Everything I've got and have tried from them is strong. Even the citrus ones, 1861, and I think they make very accessible scents a lot of the time. They do have some out there ones, but stuff like Xerjoff Naxos, 1861, Neo, these are very accessible, but this for a really nice tobacco honey kind of scent that is not entirely gloopy and cloying. It has a certain freshness about it. Very versatile as well. Naxos from Xerjoff. No one, I think, could dislike that scent. Okay, moving into the last three. Next up, I didn't put Aventus in the list because I've mentioned it in my designer one. I'll take it for granted, we kind of know about that. But something that sometimes compared a bit to it, Mancera Cedrat Boise. You must sample this if you're getting into niche fragrances, because the prices are pretty good, not massively higher than designer. They are a bit, but not massively. And it's a brilliant all-round masculine scent. Citrus, woods, a little bit of sweetness and fruitiness. There's blackcurrant in this one. It's got vanilla in the base. It's got a lovely lemon and bergamot kind of fresh opening. I think it's lemon and bergamot, but very citrusy, yet sweet a little bit, but fresh overall and woody. Lovely cedar and sandalwood notes in there. Brilliant beast mode performer. It's a little bit similar to Aventus, but it's not a clone or copy of Aventus, but it is in that same kind of ballpark of being citrus and woody, a little bit fruity, absolutely beautiful, performs better than Aventus, reasonably affordable relatively for niche, so I think it's a must try or sample. If you can get samples online, if you can't find it in a store, then you can decide if you like it. So yeah, definitely for me a must try. Next up is going to be Hubigant Fougère Royale. So we've actually got two left after this. Fougère Royale from Hubigant is a fougère fragrance. That's one of the big fragrance styles that's out there. It's one of the best niche ones. It was actually the first fougère fragrance back in the 19th century. So it's mossy, it's green, it's got lovely lavender in it, it's got bergamot in the top, it's got the tonka bean coumarin kind of note that gives it a certain sweetness. Very, very masculine, very, very rich, a little bit old school, but in this new rendition that's been created in the 21st century, it doesn't smell dated. There are millions of different options for barbershop or fougère type fragrances. Invasion Barbar by MDCI Parfums, 1725 Histoire de Parfum, but just for a good basic one that doesn't have too much sweetness or anything fancy, just a straightforward, brilliant quality ingredients fougère, Hubigant Fougère Royale would be my choice. This is the Eau de Parfum. There is an Extract de Parfum, even stronger version. That does cost a lot though. Now for an out and out oud scent, I researched this a bit. I don't own many of these, so I've gone for one that I just have a sample of, and it's Acqua di Parma. Whoops, just dropped it. Acqua di Parma Colonia Oud. So I wasn't really, well, I didn't want to put two by Acqua di Parma, but it seems it's such a popular and well-loved fragrance, even by people who are into oud. So it's got a little bit of citrus freshness in the Acqua di Parma way, but a really nice oud fragrance that's accessible, not a sort of pungent, off-putting oud, but it is very strong, a beast mode performer, and it has that exotic oud woody note with a little bit of leatheriness. So if you are looking to sample oud in a way that might not put you off, I do think Colonia Oud by Acqua di Parma is the one to go for. I saw Smelling Great Fragrances, Sebastian did a video on that one, and I thought, yeah, okay, that's going to be my oud pick. Last but not least, from the House of Creed, if you are interested in niche fragrances, you must try, I say, Green Irish Tweed. It is beautiful. It's very fresh. It's sort of the niche version of Cool Water by Davidoff. So it's got a lovely lemon verbena opening. There's sandalwood in here, there's violet leaf, a bit of a peppermint note, and the famous Creed ambergris, sort of salty sea air dried down, gives it a really, really classy overall feel of just being extremely refined. Green Irish Tweed is such an evocative name. We don't know what that would smell like, Green Irish Tweed, but it sort of puts you in the mood of being a smart dressed man. It's a really good versatile scent. You can wear it all year round when you want to smell classy. It's actually not too in your face. It does perform well, but you could wear it into work, you could wear it on dates. It just works any time when you want to smell classy in a fresh way that's a little bit citrusy, but more kind of green, grassy, citrusy. And it's got, I think, the note that was used in Cool Water, I believe it's called dihydromercenol. I think there must be some of that in there, because I really smell that in certain scents, and it does give a really nice aura to the wearer, depending what you combine it with. And in this case, they've combined it with top-notch touches of lemon verbena, sandalwood and violet leaf. It's a classic from 1985. You must try it. Don't worry too much if you don't want to buy Aventus, but if you do want a Creed, maybe Green Irish Tweed is the place to start. Those were my top 10 niche fragrances, beginner's must sample. Let me know what you thought of my choices. If you want to say they were rubbish, you couldn't have left that out, that was wrong, this is wrong, don't mind. I know there was some criticism on the last video that it was too veering towards mature people, it was too strange choices. Let me know your opinions, I welcome all debate. Okay, thanks for watching. Remember, whatever we're doing in life, let's project. See you next time, bye bye.